Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat for Halloween. Better give a treat that's good to eat if you want to keep life serene. Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat the whole night through.
Happy Halloween, monsters, and welcome! Yes, it is finally Halloween once again. And as the years go, we all get a little older. And sometimes it's hard to let go of those childish things like trick or treating. In tonight's spooky Halloween story, Jeff will be spending his last night of trick-or-treating with his dear friend Chris. And speaking of Chris, if you would like to hear this story in Chris's perspective, please click on the annotation here, or at any time through the video. So, without further ado, let the story begin. Breathing in the misty and cool morning air, seeping its way through the barely open window in my room, the chill wakes me. Rubbing my eyes to gain focus on my alarm clock, I see that it's still early in the morning. I also realize, clutching my pillow, it was Halloween. I have a friend named Chris. He has been consistent about reminding me of tonight. He is kind of a take charge kind of guy. Chris tells me that tonight will be a Halloween night like no other. One that will never be forgotten. One for the books. Sure, Chris was hyped about the surprise, and I did not really want to let him down with my bummed out attitude. Normally, I would be excited too, to go out, run the streets knocking on strangers' doors and collect my share of sweet, delicious candy. Of course I would. But something about tonight and Chris's surprise, well, it has me nervous to say the least. Honestly, I am just ready to do this and get in my last night of trick or treating. Being that it is a Saturday morning, there are simply not enough reasons for me to get out from underneath my warm blankets. My fortress from the outside world, I like to think. But I am a light sleeper and easily distracted. The most subtle of noises can wake me, and with the damn house phone from hell ringing continuously, my well-earned extra hours of slumber vanishes as each pulsating ring enters my blanket fortress and into my ears. I tried to ignore and mute the vibrating, distracting sound of the phone ringing. No use. Just let me sleep. The ringing finally stops and the call is sent to my answering machine. I hear Chris laughing. Then in an eerie way, he says,
"I know you can hear me. Wake up, you clown. I have big plans for tonight."
Chris and his excitement for the night. Rolling my eyes, I turn to face the wall, cocooning my body in my blanket. With my arm poking out, I grab my feathered pillow and mash it into my head, so to block out any other disturbances, distractions, the thought of tonight. Moments before drifting off, Chris mentioned something in regards to our costumes. I will deal with him later, once I'm officially awake. Getting in another good hour of sleep, I am again awakened, but from the creaking of my window opening, stimulating and teasing my now uncovered ears. That peaceful, warm feeling inside me is now turning into fear and worry. Focusing on the commotion behind me, the words,
"Wake up!"
echo throughout my once dead, quiet room. turning into reaction to this strange but familiar voice. I am in shock to see a lanky figure dressed in black, wearing a cheap Halloween mask of a scary clown. It was creeping in through my window. "Hey man! Who the hell are—"
It's me, Jeff.
he says, pulling the mask off. "Chris? Damn it, man! He gave me a heart attack." I tell him. Walking past me, he tosses the mask and goes to my dresser. Now sitting upon my dresser, suckling on his teeth, as if he had just ate something, he asks.
You get my message?
Still shaking off those goosebumps, I tell him, "Yeah, some of it."
Great! That's just splendid. I have everything we need. Just be by my house later.
Without hesitating, Chris climbs back through the window, and with a chuckle, says,
See you tonight.
With a sigh, I close the window and turn to leave my room. I know Chris means well, and is putting in so much effort to make this fun for me. Looking back into my room, my eyes make contact with that cheap, frightening clown mask, resting on the floor, right beside my dresser. The sun had made its way behind the horizon, and the moon now illuminating the dark sky. I look out of the living room window to see that kids are filling the streets, dressed in costumes. "Let's make the best of this," saying under my breath. I grab my backpack, place it over my shoulder, and take one more look around the house. It was quiet, untouched. My parents were never home. They were always too busy with work and all to care about what I did. The lonely life for me. Chris knew this, and knew I was kind of a loner. Maybe that's why he is doing this. I stop and turn to go back into my bedroom. I walk up to my dresser where the clown mask is laying in the same place. Did Chris leave the mask here for me? I ponder while picking up and slipping the mask inside the front pocket of my bag. Now making my way out the front, I take a deep breath and close the door behind me. Up at the entrance of my neighborhood, the butterflies in my stomach were really flapping for some reason. Slowly crossing the street and cautiously walking along and down the dim-lit dirt drive, I could see the silhouette of Chris's house peeking through the clearing. The house and its settings remind me of a scene from some slasher film. Junk and scrap sat throughout the yard. Standing out from one pile of junk was a welded metal sculpture of some sort of demon creature. Its features were creepy. Keeping my head down, I walk past it and find my way to the front door to Chris's house. We have been friends since the beginning of the year, and Chris seems to be pretty open with me. But he has never let me inside his home before. The front door is barred up, as well as the window. But why are they barred from the inside? With only a few knocks, the door opens, releasing an ear-wrenching creak.
You made it,
Chris says, while peeking from behind the door. With the door fully open, Chris invites me into his home for the first time. Upon entering the house, the first thing that hit me was the smell. It was off in a way I really can't explain. The features of the living room were gloomy. Purple drapes covered the barred windows. This place looks like how I feel most of the time. Depressed and gloomy. Turning towards Chris. "So we're dressing as clowns?" I ask, pulling the clown mask from my backpack and showing it to Chris. With a smirk, he says,
Of course, Jeff, but no masks.
Rummaging through a plastic bag, he pulls out small jars of paint, along with some brushes. Walking up to me, Chris hands them over while saying,
We will use paint. It is more traditional that way.
I continued to listen.
This way you can be
There's a pause.
your own clown.
Pacing back and forth, Chris explains to me the simplicity of face painting. So, with my unexperienced skills, I use a round brush to pick up the paint from inside the jar and start dabbing it in random places on my face. A little purple around the eyes should do. Red on the nose, a bit too much, but that's okay. I take some black and paint a frown across my mouth. It really had not taken long to completely cover my face with the paint. I was done in what seemed like no time. Looking into the antique mirror hanging on the wall, I stare at myself, thinking of how sad and creepy I look. The paint was thick, and it itched some. I almost didn't recognize myself, still admiring this clown appearance in the dust-covered mirror. I see Chris's reflection rising just above my left shoulder.
Looking great, Jeff, but why so sad?
He says with eyes fixed on mine, looking at me through the mirror. I'm not, I say. This is just how it came out. With a giggle and a firm grip on my shoulder, he spins me around to face him.
How do I look?
He asks. Scary as hell, replying as I step back some. I could tell that he has done this before, the face painting and all. The evil black eyebrows that contrasted with the blue around his eyes gave off a shockingly demented look. That grin, Chris. You look so happy. His red painted-on smile was twisted upwards in a happy but sinister way, and with the red spot precisely placed on his nose, made his smile that much larger, that much more unnatural. We are all set to leave, and I'm so ready to collect my final feast of candy. Picking up my backpack and smiling, Chris launches it over to me. I grabbed it and gave him a stare. I could tell Chris was anxious. Twiddling his fingers, he nudges me towards the front door. Now on the front porch, he pushes past me and leads the way around his weathered painted home and toward a small foot trail leading off into the forest. Taking this shortcut through the dark forest leaves me confused to where we are going. I assume it was part of the surprise. Chris seems to know. So like always, I'll follow. Though, hauntingly, and perhaps it's because of our surroundings, it feels like we're being watched. Like there is something lurking not far, just behind the trees. The musky, burnt feeling in the air is making the flesh on my face crawl and itch. The same itching, most likely from the face paint. Breaking through the tree line and onto an unfamiliar road, we finally end up at the entrance of an enormous trailer park. Chris? I ask. Why are we here? Assuming we would be at my neighborhood running a candy hustle.
You see all these homes lit up, right? With so many side by side, we will collect double the candy. I am sure of it.
I nod my head to agree with him. It did make sense.
And plus, I have a surprise waiting for you right there.
Chris points towards a brick wall that lies in between two narrow drives that led one way, in and out of the mobile park. Sitting on the wall was Gloria, a girl I had liked, and Chris always brought it up. It was easy for him to mingle with others. It wasn't so easy for me. But there she was, talking and laughing with two others standing close to her. Getting closer to them, and with the help of the streetlights, I come to recognize the other two with Gloria. It's Zach and that girl Sandra. I think Chris likes her. Chris greets them eagerly as he skips freely past me. Taking a deep breath, I too say hello. As energetic as Chris is at this moment, we all listen to what he has to say. With silence among us, Chris nods and tells me to take Gloria to the left, and he would take the others to the right. Acting as if I had no tongue to speak with, I simply nod my head and agree once more.
Come on, Jeff, let's go.
Gloria, grabbing my arm, leads me away from the entrance and into the unfamiliar trailer park. I turn to see Chris, Zach, and Sandra walking the opposite of us. Chris is grinning and waving back at me. I can only imagine what else he has in store for the night.
Look at all the candy we got.
Collecting so much candy, our bags start to fill up quickly. We are not even halfway through this big trailer park. There has also been no sign of the others, but really, I wasn't looking. I am in too much of an awe over the costume Gloria's wearing, and her eyes, with the reflection of orange Halloween lights twinkling within them, has me lost for words. Our conversation has been simple, small talk, on my behalf, I'm sure. But being with her, it felt right. Gloria pulls me along as if we were having the time of our lives.
The Halloween decorations are so pretty. Don't you think so, Jeff?
Gloria seems to be admiring the cheap decorations that sat in the small yards and pointing out the costumes of the kids. I finally get some nerve to say something charming to her. Gloria.
Yeah, Jeff?
But I'm saved by the rumbling sound of a diesel motor slowly creeping up along the side of us. The tractor is pulling a green hay wagon. It's crowded, the man driving says. There should be room on the back if you guys need a ride back to the entrance. Sound good? I ask Gloria. She agrees. Squeezing ourselves in, I find myself sitting across from Gloria. Clenching onto my pillowcase full of candy, I watch her, fixating on her eyes. My face is itching again. Damn it. Damn paint. But so far, the night has been fun, surprisingly. Chris and his surprises. I'm trying to make small talk once more with Gloria. The sound of Zach shouting and Sandra whimpering interrupted us. They were standing near a vacant lot. But where was Chris? I look at Gloria to realize that she had jumped off the hay wagon while it was still in motion. Shaking my head, I look at the driver. He had not noticed, so I followed her actions and hopped off the moving trailer as well. Reaching the group, I see Zach is holding his arm, while Sandra is consistently telling him everything's okay. According to Zach, they were approaching this vacant lot. Sandra tells us that something jumped out from the brush and charged at him, slashing his arm with a knife and snatching both his and Sandra's candy. Where's Chris? I ask. Sandra jumps in shock, saying that Chris had taken chase and went into the woods after him. Sandra continues to tell us that it sounded as if Chris was laughing and shouting as wildly as the creepy guy he was chasing. You know, that's crazy. I look at Zach's arm. That's a nasty cut, man. I was trying to show some sympathy for Zach. With a loud boom, Chris pops up out of nowhere. Damn it, Chris! What the hell happened? Asking while clenching my chest.
Oh yeah, I got this back for ya.
And tosses a pink pillowcase to Sandra. Chris walks up and pokes Zach in the wound that lays filleted open on his upper arm.
Sorry, man. The guy was just too fast.
Chris says. I have plenty of candy, thinking to myself. I tell Zach he can have some of mine. Zach was not really worried about the candy. His arm was bleeding really bad.
We can go back to my place. We can get you cleaned up there.
With everyone agreeing with Chris, we walk out of the trailer park, and Chris leads us back into the woods. The same shortcut that we had taken to get here.
The night has just begun,
Chris says. Walking in the woods, I notice how much creepier it was compared to earlier. It is later, and the air around us has now developed a chill that can make a corpse shiver. There is a sweet smell like cotton candy passing by my nose. Do the others smell it too? I thought. Chris is walking fast enough to gain a lead on the rest of us. The shrubbery is making it really hard to see him. Guys, let's hurry up, telling the others. Stepping our walking pace up, we finally catch up with Chris. He is looking off into the thickening of the trees. Now at his side, the glow illuminating from behind the trees just ahead of us now has my attention too. The smell of cotton candy is strong. I look at Chris.
Let's go see.
I shake my head in disagreement, but Gloria, Zach, and Sandra agree on the idea of checking out the unfamiliar, which lays ahead. And with that, Chris takes lead once more. Chris turns and smiles. Was this another surprise of his? Ahead of us, in an open field, sits a travel wagon. Written on this wagon is Klowns Travel Show. Walking towards the wagon, the flickering light from the glow of the cast iron pot is so mesmerizing. Standing in front of the cauldron and clown wagon, the smell of cotton candy was intense. A cranking sound begins, and soon after, large pipes begin to rise from the top of the wagon. The music playing is a fun, upbeat circus tune. Still, a dark tone underneath those harmonic organ notes has me in chills. I need to be cautious. With a loud chuckle, I turn to find myself face to face with a clown. But not Chris. This is someone else. The clown frowns, and with a honk of his nose, he pats me on the head and smiles. His teeth were so black and inky. The clown cheerfully dances his way around to each of us, welcoming us. And then, the side doors of the wagon open up, hitting the ground with a thump. Clowns begin to exit the wagon by the dozens. The wagon itself is small, but the number of clowns that still continue to pour out, it just seems impossible. The music is getting louder, and along with all the commotion, I lost sight of the others. Looking around, I see Chris. There he is, smiling at me. Again, with that smile. The commotion and music seems to slow down. Am I tripping? And why is my face itching so bad? I stand here looking back at Chris waving at me. His eyes now this demonic white color. He laughs and points in my direction.
Hiya, Jeff.
A female clown greets me with a giggle. Her eyes, too, are a demonic white. I feel I'm going into a trance. I begin to hear the sounds of screaming.
Come now, this is all meant for you, you silly sad clown, you.
She says. Pulling me along, I see that all the clowns are now staring at me. The screams are getting louder as the sea of clowns spread apart. I can now see Chris standing behind Zach and Sandra. Some of the tinier clowns are tying them up. Gloria is just to the left of them, as a larger, fat clown ties her to a vertical standing table. There is no screaming coming from her. They have a red candy apple wedged in her mouth.
This is for you and all of us.
Chris shouts. Standing here is all I can do.
Welcome to the show.
The twisted girl clown whispers in my ear while patting me on the back. The large cauldron gets lifted up off over the fire by two very large clowns. I can hear the sound of flesh melting as the pot makes contact with exposed skin. The clowns carry the melting, hot candy over to Zach and Sandra and pour it over them. The screams are short-lived and quick as the molten, hot candy glazes over them, filling their mouths. With the candy now hardening around them, they are entombed inside a candy shell. My face begins to itch again. I'm feeling stunned, shocked, and hungry. That's when the pushing and poking on my back starts. Some clowns are pushing me towards Gloria. Passing by Zach and Sandra, I can see their eyes moving, watching me. Standing in front of Gloria, Chris comes from the side of her, looking at me, smiling.
Hungry? I know you are. Hope you enjoy your treat.
Removing the candy apple from Gloria's mouth, she starts crying and pleading for any kind of mercy.
Jeff, help. Don't let them.
Chris tells me I must feed on my treat or they will eat me. I feel as if I have no say in the matter, nor the control. I am really hungry though. I accept. I will eat my treat. Just then, a very tall, bony clown approaches Gloria. The clowns are chanting, "Eat and join." Gloria still screaming. The tall clown grabs her by the jaw and with a twist and snap, opens it. He grabs handfuls of candy from the pink bag with his long, corpse-like hand and force feeds the candy down Gloria's throat.
Make sure you get all the candy in her.
Chris says as the clown forces his arm down further in her mouth, stuffing her from the inside. All I can do is fixate on her eyes, and now, this new hunger. Her jaw barely hanging on at this point, candy spewing from the open hole. She is still alive. Chris walking up to me, places a knife in my hand, and tells me,
You gotta do this.
Staring at her eyes, I walk towards her with the knife in hand. I slash the knife across her swollen belly,
Yeah, cut her open.
opening her up enough to release some candy and guts. Chris, rushing up to her almost lifeless body, whispers in her ear,
Trick or treat, bitch.
as he rips and pulls on the slash I made with the knife. Walking up closer to the candy and gut frenzy, I dive in, letting the hunger overtake me. Using my hands as scoops, I eat some treats from my treat. Chris looks at me and says,
You are one of us now. Look.
Peering into the mirror he now held, I see that my eyes have changed too, into those demonic white eyes that all of these clowns share. Being that, I suppose tonight will not be my last night of trick-or-treating. Can't wait for next year. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It seems like this Halloween will not be Jeff's last, thanks to his good old pal Chris. Speaking of Chris, be sure to click here in the annotation to hear his perspective on this creepy Halloween adventure. Be safe out there this Halloween. Till next time. Hiya Masters. I would like to say thank you to Fearjin for helping out with this Halloween special. What makes this story so special is that it's told in two different perspectives. Be sure to check out his channel here and hear Chris's perspective on this crazy Halloween escapade. I would also like to say thank you to Shadow Mistress for playing the part of Gloria, as well as the scary girl Clown. Be sure to check out her channel here. Happy Halloween everybody, and thanks again for watching.